The views and opinions expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Forge Fitness and Nutrition LLC, the podcast host, owners, employees, contractors, partners, or affiliates. This presentation may include the use of explicit language. Listener or viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to the Forge Fitness and Nutrition and Habit podcast. I'm your host, Michael S. Parker, and I'm so happy because for those of you who've been listening since the beginning, my really good friend and longtime client, Sarah Malby, been part of this from the very beginning. Her and I started this concept together. We've been talking about it. I've been wanting her to co-host, but Sarah's had just a few things just not go exactly according to plan over the last year. Sarah lost her home in 2025 to a massive flood. It was awful. It just completely devastated her family. The circumstances of life that all of us will contend with to some degree, one way or another, and how she has been so remarkable in overcoming it. And I'm so proud that she's here today to share the story. And now that things are settling, I'm hoping she'll be present more. Sarah and I have known each other for so long. She started with me back in 2016. With Forge.
It threw me for a loop there talking about the flood and life. I'm already it's 30 seconds in and I'm teared already.
I want to say a few things for Sarah, okay? This is really important to anybody who's a mom, but Sarah, this is for you. Motherhood is one of those experiences that I don't think words will ever fully capture, and it's even more difficult if you've never experienced it, and men never can, but we can empathize deeply, and we care very much. It's powerful, it's humbling, it's exhausting, and I've seen it. It's sacred. It's an absolute sacred act. Bringing a child into this world it's not just physical. It's a complete redefinition of how you are as a woman now. It completely redefines and shifts your priorities. Your heart expands and your identity evolves. And I think it's profoundly beautiful, honestly. And I think it's admirable, especially those women who overcome the obstacles, because the amount of strength that it takes to give life, and you have to nurture it, and you have to show up every single day, no breaks, for another human being while learning a whole new version of yourself.
Yeah.
How the fuck do you do that?
I'm figuring it out.
And you will. But here's the thing. What often gets lost in the celebration is the cost. And having worked with, hundreds of women through childbirth, and at any given time, I have a client that's pregnant. I see what it takes. I understand the toll. It's hard. I've had clients who've lost babies. I've had clients who've had children that have a bad potential outcome. I've had clients who've had a wonderful birth and it only took 2 hours of labor and they have the best baby ever. It's so crazy that you can't quantify it. It changes your schedule. It changes your body, your hormones, your sleep, your sense of self, and it can fuck your confidence. And the world, Absolutely. It's so easy. We can say, well, be grateful and your body is just so amazing. There's all sorts of bullshit that you hear. And I just tend to be real. I'm like, yeah, you're not looking as well as you could, but we're going to get you there. And I think some people like that about me and I think other people don't. I think you do, because I'm always like, okay, yeah, those pants aren't working. We got to get you a little bit leaner. But that doesn't, but here's the thing. When you think about all of the outside influences, that doesn't automatically make it easy. When you're looking in the mirror, because you're, oh man, gosh, how's your baby now? She's
15 months now.
15? No way. I thought it was 2 weeks. Honestly, I know. You know how I am. But
time is an illusion.
It's totally an illusion. But I know you. You've sent me pictures of you looking in the mirror, and you're like, Is this normal? This wasn't here before, bitch. What are we doing? And so for many women, postpartum isn't just about. It's not about chasing perfection. It's about regaining ownership. And I could be wrong. And Sarah, this is the thing that you can help with, because that's how I'm seeing it as I'm observing and I'm working with these women through these issues. We want you feeling strong again, feeling comfortable in your skin, feeling confident, not just as a mother, but as you, as Sarah, as the actress, as the producer, as the writer, as the wife, as the amazing sister and daughter and friend. You have to sort those things out. And that's why I'm really excited that you're here today, because I've been waiting to have this conversation with you. And I know that fuck, your fucking house was underwater. And it's not just to talk about motherhood. It's to talk honestly about your postpartum journey, the challenges, what your expectations were and how they changed. What are they now? Because obviously you get your face kicked in with life, and what it actually takes to rebuild strength and confidence after birth. And not to mention that you lost your entire home at the same time that all of this was happening. And, I'm hoping that we can show people a way that if you have the right mental state and you're as powerful and strong as you are, that you can get over some crazy shit. And that's what I wanted to open with, Sarah. So welcome back.
That was one hell of an opening, my man. Like, wow. I think I'm really impressed that as a man, I think you were able to capture a lot of the experience. And just as a human, you're just such a wonderful support in my life and in many people's lives. So thank you for that. Yeah, it is so hard to articulate like all of the levels and different experiences that happen to you physically, emotionally, psychologically. Every single aspect of who you are like gets bombarded with, and I'm even struggling to find the words because I'm still in it, right? Like, I thought when you talk about expectations, I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I'd never done it before, but I certainly, when people were talking about being in postpartum for 2-3 years, thought like, I can do it quicker. I'll get through that way quicker. I definitely underestimated like just how expansive it is. This redefinition of self that you talk about, is the hardest thing. And that's why the first baby is definitely the hardest baby, because you've already gone through that transition. So, I mean, then I haven't had a second one, but then there's other challenges that come with it. But all of, my friends and family that have more than two always talk about that first one is like the biggest like kick in the guts to like, what is my life now? Who am I now? So 2 weeks into having my daughter, I just remember it was the first time I was allowed to drive because I had to do an emergency cesarean. And I literally lived like next door to my mum. So I left my baby with my husband, just drove to my mum's and to drive back. And just in that little window, driving back up my road, I was like, oh, this is forever now. This part of my brain that's like just constantly, where's the baby? What's she doing? Like, is she okay? Like, I will never be alone anymore, like forever. And it was really emotional because I was like, look, I'm glad this child is here and I do love her. When they're new, it's like you don't know them. So like you love them because you have to. It's like automatically in you. But like now I've gotten to know her 15 months. Like I love her in a different way. Like I love her as a little person she's becoming versus when it's just out and it's just so instinctual, like to like grab onto this thing and keep it safe and keep it happy and like, keep it alive. All the nurses are like, oh, like, so what's your plan for the next few months? I was like, keep it alive. Like, that is literally like, I have no other standard. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, this is like, I'm like a Labrador changing a carburetor. I have no idea. Like, there's this myth, oh, you have the baby, then suddenly it's so natural. Nothing natural about it. Like, I had to learn it. Like, I didn't know. I still don't know. You just get more confident with winging it. That's about it. But, okay, this is the best way. I was thinking about, like, how can I describe what it's like to have this internal shift? Because that is the thing that I was the most unprepared for, that no one could really articulate to me what that would be or how irrevocably it would change me. Is that like, imagine, okay, you have this house, you lived in this house your whole life and you know this house inside out. And then one day there's another door and you're like, what? Where did that door come from? Has that door always been here? I don't know. And then you open the door and there's all these other rooms in the house. And you think, okay, was that door always there or did it just get put in? And would it have just been unnoticed? And now that I know that door is there and I know those other rooms are there, they will always be there. And it's still the same house, and yet it's not. So like we always had this capacity within us as women to have all these other rooms, but the door was just shut and now it's open and you could never ever lock it again. Like, that's it. It's done. And so there's this grieving process that happens where it's like you're still you, but you're more than you. But you can never not exist within these spaces again. Like the spaces irrevocably change within you.
I've heard a lot of ladies talk about that in different metaphors. I've heard like, moving from junior high to high school and then to college and then, you get married, that your life fundamentally changes, but nothing changes you more than birthing a child.
Well, my therapist I feel so LA when I say that, told me that the biggest shift in your brain happens from 0 to 4 and then next birth and postpartum. Like there is no other like in your life like that your brain will change or grow that much within those 2 periods. Like it is insane.
I mean, the obnoxiousness of you having a therapist decide.
I know. Okay, but as you said, I did lose my entire home this year and have a baby.
Yeah, no, I'm just fucking with you.
I needed to talk about my feelings. My husband can only take so much.
Yeah, he's great though. I mean, honestly, he's just fantastic dude.
He is great.
And I don't even know him at all, and I've known you for...
You know him through me.
Obviously, at one point, I know I'm going to get to meet him, and I can't wait, because Heather speaks Portuguese, and you don't.
Yes, she's got it up on me.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to talk to you, and she's going to have to talk to him. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. We'll go out for dinner one time. But I just, you had mentioned a couple of things I want to circle back to. You talked about postpartum, and that it is a pivotal point of women. What were your biggest surprises? And let me give you some classifications to consider. Surprises, they could be emotional. They could be physical, and then they could be mental. And when I say mental, it's more about like the logistics of like, I got to get the kid here and do this and do that. And then emotional being like all the shit. And then physical is your body, right?
Yeah.
Of all of those things, what would you say that you were not prepared for?
Well, I mean, definitely that one that we just spoke about is just like feeling internally, intrinsically forever changed was the biggest thing. And then I would say second to that, the physiological response that you have to the baby, which is like, it's like beyond your conscious reasoning, you know? So like you might logically know your baby's not upset, but as soon as you like, or like hurt, if it's whinging or like something's going on that's very minor, right? And it's having a cry, but you know, there's nothing serious. You logically can know that. So like my husband could be like, oh, it's fine. But I would be fighting this incredible anxiety because my body would go straight into fight or flight mode. Just like so as soon as you hear your baby cry, it's like all this shit happens that you cannot control. It's like I like to the point of shaking of like, oh my God, like calm down. Like logically I know nothing's wrong. And so even like now 15 months, you just learn to deal with it better. You just learn to like breathe it into place or whatever. But like I will wake up 2 minutes before my baby wakes up crying, even if it's like 15 times in that night. It's something, there's some weird connection where like I know she's going to wake up on some level. And if she sleeps through the night, then I sleep through the night. Like it's just, there's this connection that just goes beyond anything that, you know, I quantify it really. It's like, I don't know. Is that just a physical? Is that a spiritual connection? I don't know. But it's just the way you react to each other is like really like there's a string between the two of you, like for sure.
Yeah.
Which is also interesting. And then I guess on the physical side of things, I mean, birth is wild. There's no good way to do it. You know, it is what it is. Obviously I didn't know which way I wanted to give birth. I didn't think there was a good choice. I just thought I'll see what happens, you know, like if it's going smoothly, like let's try for a vaginal birth. But she was in breech and then I went into labor. And so they had to, you know, do the emergency C. So we just rolled with it. But I got what I call the best of both worlds because I had to be in labor up to, I think, 5 or 6 centimeters before we went and did that. So, you know, it was scary and wild, and there's nothing in the world that can ever prepare you for a live being to be pulled from your body and thrust upon you. Like, it's just like the shock.
Like it was an accident, like you're surprised. Like what the fuck is this?
It was. It's one of those things you can like mentally prepare for. You logically know that there is a being in there and it's going to come out of you. But until someone has literally like ripped, or my OBG says, I didn't rip her out of you. But I'm like, you have your version, I have mine.
I surgically extracted.
That's what it felt like. But like they just, and then it's there and you're like, what the? It's like alien, man. Like it's crazy. And because it is such an intense experience, and that surgery, like I know they talk about going through 9 levels and it's like one of the deepest surgeries or whatever that you can have.
Abdominis and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've had abdominal surgery for like a gallbladder and appendix, which is like very surface in comparison. But like I didn't
like most of your organs.
I know. I'm not giving out any more unless you pay me a lot of money. No, I'm done. No more organs. But yeah, like, so I didn't feel as difficult a recovery surgically as I did like from those other ones. And it was so much more major. And I think that's just because of everything else that was going on. I just couldn't focus on pain or stress or anything. I was just like, I barely even remember that I had surgery. Like I was like, I guess it hurt, but like, you know, I was so scared to walk after my first surgeries. Like, oh no, it's going to hurt so much. And this one I was like, get up, walk. Like, yeah, okay. I couldn't walk. I had surgery, but I just didn't have the same stress about it or worry about it. And I think you do feel on some level kind of invincible because after you like labor sucks. Like, and then once you've had this life pulled out of you, there is like just a few days of like, holy fuck, I can literally do anything. Like if I can do this, like I can do literally anything. And that's that base. I don't feel quite as invincible as I did the initial part of it. But yeah, I was just like, fuck, this is a huge experience. And I couldn't fathom that it was the most abnormal experience for a woman to go through. You know, like it's how many millions and billions of people have kids? Like it's normal, it's common. But it is not normal. Nothing about that is normal. It's wild.
That's a funny way of looking at it. And it makes sense to me. I mean, it does. Now, out of curiosity, just on the back of that question, now I'm thinking about it. So those are the things that you were not prepared for. What was one thing that you were just like, I'm fucking ready? And what was that one thing that you were ready for? If any?
Still waiting to put bows on her head because I knew I had all these little cute outfits. So I was ready to dress her up and put bows on her head, and that's about it. She came early. We had moved back from America. We hadn't finished unpacking our boxes. Like we were not ready.
I can't help but laugh because the first picture you sent of her to me, she had fucking bows in her hair.
Yeah, that's what I was ready for.
Wow, you are so ready. I did not know that until just this day. That's why I was laughing. That's actually
The
really
only thing.
great. But you were going through a lot at the same time, though, So
Yeah, no, it was massive. Like international move, first baby, and then the flood. It was wild. Like there was no point moving. Like I wish I didn't spend all my money to move my shit back because I just lost it all. Should have
wow,
just
yeah,
hold
no.
it.
Well, we'll circle back to that because I think that's important. We'll capstone with how you navigated a new baby and moving back to Australia from the United States, all that stuff. Well, let's circle back to that near the end because I like the theme that you're on and you've got such a great, lovely energy about it. And I was thinking about this. Many new moms, especially with social media, because I have to talk about social media. And I'm seeing things that really bother me. And there's this huge pressure about the physical bounce back.
Oh my God, absolutely.
Can you talk about that pressure and how it affected you? And how did you shift your mindset out of that? Because you were sending me so many photos and reels and stories. You're like, is this normal? Like,
that's how I cope with it, by sending you reels. That's how, because it helps filter the noise. Like everyone needs a you, because like, that's, I'm such an advocate of having someone in your life, like, whether it's a trainer, whether it's an educated friend, but somebody that can cut through that noise. Because when you're in a vulnerable position or like a vulnerable place in your life, then you are at the mercy of a lot of this stuff, of a lot of these myths. Which can be really toxic and really, really, really terrible for your mental health, for sure. So yeah, look, I think that the bounce back pressure, I think it's actually, it's a divide. There's either a bounce back pressure or there's a give up pressure.
Totally. I've seen a huge surge of the give up.
And like even before when I was pregnant, I would, strangers like love to give, pregnant people like their 2 cents about things. And someone came up to me, I think I was at the gym. I was at the gym the day I went into labor. Like I trained the whole time, and not when I was super big. I didn't train a lot. I did like the old lady class where they go like, they shuffle from side to side and do like claps above their head or whatever. But, I just wanted to keep movement happening. And I think one of them came up to me and was like, "Oh, you look lovely." And I was like, "Oh, thank you." And she's like, "Well, you won't be doing that soon," like patting my belly. I was like, "Huh?" She's like, "Oh, you won't have time to do your hair and makeup." And I was like, I always like to present. That's just the way, that's who I am. It's just part of my identity. And I don't see how having a baby will change that. Not that I said all that to her, but just the expectation. And then like my mum was there and she was agreeing. She was like, "Oh yeah, you'll have to give that up." I was like, "What?"
Did you?
I went into labor 2 weeks early and I had my lash appointment booked the week before and I couldn't. And when I went into labor, I stuck my lashes on with so much freaking glue. My husband's like, "Really?" I was like, "I am giving birth to this child looking like myself."
The reason I asked that follow-up question in there was because I know exactly how you did it. You've managed to, and we'll talk about this a little bit more later because I have another question that kind of leads into this, but you had sent me a message, oh gosh, summer of last year, or late summer last year, maybe fall. And you had used the word identity, which is why I kind of used that word in kind of like my thought process when I opened this up and the self-identification. And girl, you like went into labor with like Audrey Hepburn. You had your fucking lashes done. You sent me pictures and shit. And I was just like, that's my girl.
I did. And look, people might like, okay, she's vain. Yeah, I am. And I'm okay with that. But like it's like grasping onto these. And look, that for me, that, I'm a creative person. I enjoy being creative and maintaining my look. That's me. It might be something else. But I think, holding on to these are small victories of just choosing to stay true to who you are throughout this process. Because I think a lot of the depression happens when you don't have those and you're just adrift in yourself and in your life.
Anchors.
You don't have anything. And just those little things of like, I'm somebody that goes to the gym. I get up and I do my makeup. These little routines that like you can continue for yourself are so small, but they're so important. They just ground you in who you are, because you really can get lost in just this wash of like, is all I am now like barely surviving? Because the exhaustion is real. Like, you're really tired, the breastfeeding, if you do that, or if you can't do that, it's so hard. And, you can just become like, you just feel like you're on the surface of life, just making it like day-to-day survival. You know what? I don't think I struggled as much as I expected. And I would wonder how honest women are being. I'm just very honest.
There's 2 parts to this. What you just said is correct. I think that sometimes people aren't always true. They're not authentic. And I can understand why. There's so many reasons why somebody wouldn't say it. Embarrassment, social shame. They feel guilty that maybe
yes, there is a massive like silent martyrdom of like, you don't deserve to feel stressed and worried, because that means you're not loving your child enough. You're not like devoted enough to your new role. There is a huge, like massively.
That was exactly my point. However, with you, one of the things that you really struggled with was the reality of your career and your profession and having a pregnancy could profoundly affect it.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very concerned about that.
Yes, I was.
And the recovery is always really, really challenging. So I want to ask you this question. What did your postpartum recovery actually feel like compared to what everybody told you it was supposed to be?
Yeah, no, way harder and longer than I expected. Way, way harder and longer. In the sense that, like, okay, so I think one of the biggest misses around like breastfeeding, like, oh, you breastfeed, you lose all this weight. And it's actually like made it harder. I started losing weight way easier after I had stopped breastfeeding. And everyone's like, oh, you'll just use breastfeed, you'll like slim down. And I'm like, as soon as you give birth, you start losing weight, like fluid, you lose a whole organ. You grow an organ, you lose an organ, your placenta's gone. And that shit is massive.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, it's just a giant. I don't even understand whether. Anyway, so your body's like shedding a lot of fluid, so you're shrinking anyway. So people, I think maybe they're thinking, oh, I'm breastfeeding, I'm losing weight. Well, even if you weren't, that would be going down because there was a lot of extra like amniotic fluid. There's all this shit going on. Your organs are sliding back into place. Like it's all happening. And then when I would be at the gym, I wouldn't feel strong. And I remember saying to you, like, I feel so like I'm going to snap. I feel injury prone because the hormone, the prolactin.
There's catabolism, and there could be bone density loss, and then there is postpartum diabetes. There's all kinds of things that can interfere.
So while I was breastfeeding and training, I didn't feel like I was getting anywhere. I felt like I couldn't get stronger. I couldn't increase my weight. Like it was very frustrating.
Well, okay, there's two parts to this. The first thing is that, yes, you're right. It's very difficult when you have to get back in there and you're re-aggravating the central nervous system, excitation, contraction coupling. You're getting your muscles to flex and extend. All of those things assist you with. There can be hernias. There can be all kinds of fascial problems and the abdominal cavities. There's so many variables. You also are a princess for workouts.
I'm trying to say I'm a pussy. I'm not. Only when it comes to cardio. We've had this conversation. I will lift those heavy weights. I love heavy weights.
But do you, Sarah?
Yeah, I think so.
I know. Well, I'm going to get you, but don't you worry.
They hurt, but they're good because they work. No, look,
no, I know.
Really,
I'm kind of teasing you a little bit. I'm kind of teasing.
No, but look, it's true. Those hormones, those breastfeeding hormones, you don't feel like you in your body. It's like, because it's doing something else. So like I said to you, like what I do at the gym, it doesn't work in my new body. I don't know how to make that work.
Let me clarify. All jokes aside, I was just ribbing you a little bit. All jokes aside, there is a hormonal shift and your sensation of energy is greatly diminished.
Yeah, I was about to say, and then there's no sleep.
It's not even the sensation. What'd you say? Sleep?
That was also the fact that when you're going back to training, you're also exhausted and you're living on broken sleep.
Right, broken sleep. Oh, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so we're on the same page. That's what I was going to say. You had huge sleep problems, massive protein deficiencies. I have been pushing you so hard for protein. And I know you've made some wild changes over the last 3 months. But before we get into that, I want to circle back around because, it is true that you're in the state of exhaustion and you're giving, it's not just physical energy, it's emotional energy too, because baby is either crying or the baby's happy. So like you're going through these huge waves of emotion, like
and that fight or flight spike every time they cry, cortisol. It's wild.
And then there's also, and this is just like, we're talking about homeostatic birth here. We're not talking about like, your house is under 5 feet of water or anything like that. We're talking about just normal birth. Right. That's challenging. So I want to transition in and we're going to come back around to some of the like fun solutions that you found and how you've been able to get back on your feet and you're filming currently.
Yes.
Or you've been filming and you'll be filming again, which you and I have very specific goals for your physique for this upcoming shoot. But I wanted to talk about something that I think is really interesting because, you're more of a social media gal than I am a social media person, right? I think, as you know, just for those of you who've never listened to the podcast before, or if you're common listeners, or if you're Sarah sitting here rolling your eyes, you know what I'm going to say. I fucking hate it. I am not a social media person. It is my biggest flaw in business. I failed to establish a good social media presence with my business. I did not realize that was a credit score. So my mistake. Sorry, I don't have 250,000 plus followers. I'm not going to fake it. Anyway, all that to say, I think social media is nuts. But I think that social media is a super awesome way to create all kinds of personal disorders and false comparisons. How about that?
%.
But
now you can AI filter everything as well. It's crazy.
An AI filter, yeah. So I find it to be really toxic for most people. But I've learned a lot about the toxicity and the obnoxiousness of social media influencers. But, at the same time, I'm empathetic because I understand how it's affecting the everyday person. It really does mess with people's heads. It changes what's reasonable expectation. It changes timeline ideas. It changes. There's a comparison, like you could be, and I really feel awful for young kids, like say preteen, early teens, when you're already feeling like you don't even belong in your own body. Your left foot is your right foot. Man, we all went through puberty. We know what to talk about. And I'm not talking about any political stuff here. I'm talking about just like normal puberty. Like when you go through that as an adult, you're like, yeah, I can look back and say awkward, so awkward at 13, 14, and 15.
It wasn't.
I was, like looking back, I was like almost subhuman in my mind. I felt so out of my element and like to my feet, right? Isn't that how you describe it?
I was miserable.
So
I had a miserable time.
Yeah. And I know that you're way into more social media than I am. You're active on Facebook, and I follow you on everything, but I just don't interact very much. But you're active on Facebook. You have Instagram, like you have tens of thousands of followers all around the world. And that's great. That's awesome. And I know that I always have tried to position myself as a non-invasive little angel on your shoulder that whispers in your ear, don't fucking look at that. That's stupid.
It's so true.
On your social media,
Yeah, absolutely. And you need that.
But here's the question that I have for you. How did you navigate the conflicting advice in nutrition and weight loss? Wow. Oh, I don't know. Let's say also trying to heal. You're breastfeeding. You're simply trying to survive.
Exactly by what you just said. I just messaged it to you.
Well, aside from me, like, well,
No,
okay, well, that's really.
But it's not sweet. It's just true because like you, like as I said before, when you're vulnerable, like that is when you cling to these, like it's the quick fix fantasy, isn't it? And that's always been around, and it's not new. It's not social media is not responsible for it. It just takes advantage of it.
Yeah.
Everybody falls into that trap from time to time. And yeah, look, I have just been a fool for the quick fix fantasy decades before I knew you, to then meeting you and working through all that and finding, like how to be the best you can be. When those temptations come up again, where do I go? I go to the person that helped me get rid of that in the first place. That's why you get 50 real links from me. What about wall Pilates? What about this?
50? That seems like a light number, 50 a day.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? So like it is important to cut through the noise and to realize that you're vulnerable. Like I know when I'm vulnerable and when I'm not vulnerable. I have that level of awareness, and
yes,
I have cultivated that in myself because I value it. I want to have a good mental health. We only have one place to live in our own brain, so we need to make it a nice place.
24/7.
And and mine has not been a nice place at times. I've been very harsh and critical, and it still comes up all the time. It's just a commitment that I have that when those toxic thoughts come up, when those negative thoughts come up, I'm going to deal with them. And if I can't deal with them, I'm going to take it to someone that can help me work through it. Because we're not perfect. I can't manage everything myself. Sometimes I can figure out my own crap, and sometimes, I need a mate.
Yeah.
And I think the key is having that awareness and knowing if you're not sure, ask someone that you trust. Don't put into ChatGPT. That's just like a what do you call it? An echo chamber. You need someone that you trust that has, that either training or education that can help you go like, okay, this is real or not. Because sometimes you just can't know. Yeah,
no, that's true. I have two points here. The first one is kind of a joke off of what you just said about ChatGPT. And then the second one is a transition into heavy shit. So the ChatGPT comment is funny because, as you know, we don't use AI for any program design or what we work with clients. We use AI to help us script advertisements and social media content.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a dullard when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm not, how many more bicep curl videos do we need on the internet?
0 I don't know. I think it depends on the bicep.
Come on now.
There's an audience out there for your bicep curl, mate. People want to see it.
Yeah,
give the people what they want.
But what I'm talking about is in my space, I'm an educator, right? I'm a biomechanist. So when I look at things, I don't think about it from an aesthetic standpoint. I think about it from a functional and progressive standpoint and sustainability. I think about how does this work for my clients and how can I help them achieve their goals safely, effectively, and with as much fun as possible, depending on their attitude, whether it's good or bad. So for me, it's really not so much, social media is not a good platform for me because I don't do the flashy shit. I do the stuff that people don't want to hear, which is if you're unhappy with your fitness, it's your fault. Dead on social media. I'm dead. I'm already dead. My message alone, I'm fucking dead on arrival. That's not the point. You've been pushing me over the years and I've done better. Don't you think I've done better?
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely stepping it up.
Yeah, we'll do better. But
it's a means to an end.
Yeah, but you know what? I want it to be an authentic means to an end. Then, right? So I'm not going to sell
absolutely.
out.
Absolutely.
Like, no.
Give the people what they want. No, I'm just teasing, yeah?
I give people what they need.
That's very unpopular.
And I know. It's so unpopular.
You are not, that's like bringing salad to a barbecue. You're not going to win any friends.
They don't like that.
No, they don't.
Like that.
Of course not. Because people, that's just about trying to put someone else down so that they can feel better about their own life choices.
Of course.
And, not that I don't feel as confident. I should be confident. I don't feel as confident in myself as I was before my baby because of, obviously I'm still not quite as lean. I had someone comment to me, we went out for work drinks and people love to comment. They love to comment. And they were like,
don't they?
I thought you went to the gym 5 times a week. What are you doing eating like that greasy taco and having a margarita? And I just went, I don't go to the gym 5 times a week so that I cannot eat this. Like I work for this. I can sit here, feel lean and fit and like drink my margarita and eat my taco without any guilt because I know tomorrow I'm back in the gym. I'm back on my plan. Like, I have that. Like I do this training to enjoy my life and look good while I'm enjoying it. Like that's why I do it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons that I do it. But I just want to make sure because I want to keep on track with the two things. I just wanted to joke a little bit about my unique and controversial perspective of social media, but I also wanted to bring it back to something that you had said that I think is important. So now coming back kind of the serious, but not too serious. You went through so much, especially like the emotional, the mental, and the physical, and you had to move past your own internal obstacles, right? The ones that you created, not social media. It wasn't like whatever your husband was or wasn't doing, what your mom and your family was or wasn't doing. You had to internalize yourself. You had to at some point, you're like, fuck, I'm a mom and I have to keep this thing alive, which is funny, but also there had to have been a transition now. I'm rounding up. She's closer to 2 than 1,
Can't even believe that. It feels like yesterday this happened.
That's why I said earlier, did you hear me? I said, I thought you gave birth 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So and I know you're tired and you've made these realizations. You're like, remember, you and I had talked, it was, September. I think it was right after or right before I left for Brazil and you were all jealous. Yeah, it was after.
Yes.
It was after Brazil. And so September, you and I were talking and you were telling me how that you were so exhausted and that you were having so much trouble with your sleep and your sense of self, your identity. And that's why I use those words early on. And it wasn't just tired. There was so many things that were going on. But aside from me, which is very sweetheart, thank you so much for, including me in that. But aside from me, aside from social media, aside from your husband, anybody, just you quantify it down to the granular, beautiful Sarah. What helped you in your own head that you think is the most profound thing postpartum that you did?
Okay, you want to get real? Let's get real. No mother thinks they do anything enough, ever. Like, ever. It's really difficult to hear you're doing a good job navigating that. I don't know, I know that I have actually, because I know what the history of who I am and my emotions and all that stuff. So I do know that I held it together a lot more than I think my husband definitely expected me to, but when you talk about doing a good job, that's really hard to hear because you just never feel like it's enough. You just never feel like you're doing enough. And anything you do for yourself, you feel guilty because you're taking energy away from what could be being put into your child. Even though if you don't feel, if you don't give to yourself, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like it is a bit of a vicious cycle. So I think the only thing because I'm still in it, right? I don't consider myself out of it. I'm still figuring out how to help myself and do all this. But I think the only thing that comes down to is just grace. Like you have to give yourself grace, even though that's really hard. It's really, really hard to do. You always want to be more. You always want to be doing more, giving more, being better. Like some days, so many days, I just feel like this is a survival day. Like I haven't deep cleaned. I've just done the washing up and I've kept the baby alive and that's all I've managed to do. And it feels like such a pathetic achievement, but it has to be enough. Like it just has to be enough. And you've just got to be like, okay, this is a short phase of my life. Like it's already almost 2 years. It feels like it could be tomorrow. It's a short phase. And I just try to find the enjoyment in that, like 3 things you're grateful for because it's going to be over. It's going to be over in a minute. And if you look back at any hard time in your life, you will look back and you go, wow, remember when I was at uni and I had no money and I used to eat at 7-Eleven? How funny was that? At the time, it wasn't funny, but you look back now and you're like, wow, that was actually great. That was actually a great experience. And I'm glad I got through that, So I think I just kind of project myself like that, like this is tough now, but I'm going to look back on this time and I'm going to go, wow, that was incredible. So yeah, that's a long-winded answer to just say, sometimes you just have to accept it. And that for me is really hard, but it's the only thing that gets you through.
I think it was a perfect answer. And I'll tell you why. Because it shows the humanity, the vulnerability, and the reality. And what's more relatable than that? Because what you're basically talking about is a transition of relationship status, not just with yourself, but with your your husband, with your extended family and his family, your family, everything changes, right? Because now his family's got a vested interest because now there's a baby, and your family's now like, oh, so everything shifts. But I have a curiosity. The fact that Gustavo is Brazilian makes him so much more. I don't know. I have Brazilian family, so adopted.
It's a great culture. It's a great culture.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know. Like they live and die and breathe and bleed for you. Like they're incredible.
Yes. I call them the Brazilian mafia. Like if you're in, you're in. Like they will kill a bitch for you.
Yeah. But if you're not in, they'll still kill you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have to be in. I learned that when we went to Rio de Janeiro to visit my brother.
Yeah, you got to be in.
For those of you who don't know, I just got to make this real quick transition though.
Absolutely.
I'll talk about my Brazilian family just in a second, because I want to make sure that I point this out because it's really important, because your husband is fantastic. Your family on both sides are fantastic. I want to understand something important from you so we don't lose momentum on this idea that the shifts that you experienced within those interfamily relationships outside of yourself, right? Because we just talked about, you having to internalize things and you had to make some internal shifts. What were some of the biggest challenges that you had to face with family with the baby?
It's really interesting becoming a mother and then reflecting on how you were mothered or parented, because like it gives you a completely different lens. Even though as an adult, you start to see your parent as an adult and you can look at things, you can do all that, like, and see them as an individual and not like some kind of pedestal thing, like when you're a kid. But it's very different to be going through it and knowing that that your mom, you were that for your mom, like, and your dad, to another extent. So yeah, that is really interesting. And look, I have a good relationship with my mum, but she has amnesia. So like, it's just no hard times exist. If I'm like, how did you survive that, mum? She's like, oh, I don't remember that. And I'm like, of course I was up every 2 seconds of the night. Like, but she doesn't really recall either consciously or unconsciously the challenges of postpartum. And she had 4 kids. But she must have, and I'm looking at it, and then you remember little things. Like I remember one time she went to the doctor and the doctor was like, give all your kids port once a month so you can sleep through the night. Like, like old school doctors, they don't tell you to drug your kids anymore. But I'm like, well, you must have been so exhausted. Cannabis? Port, P-O-R-T, like give them a few tablespoons of alcohol.
Yeah, my grandma had the same thing as she used brandy. Yeah.
Yes. So I don't know that my mum actually did that. She denies that she did it, but I don't know. Who knows? Who knows where the truth lies? But that was the doctor recommendation at the time, which, medicine changes.
Trust the science.
But now through the lens, even though mum might not recall it, or again, consciously, subconsciously, I don't know, but I can see, look, obviously she was exhausted. Like obviously she was to the point where she was going to the doctor, like, help me, like, what do I do? And so it's really interesting to look at that. And then you have to address elements of your own childhood. What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What do you want to do differently? What do you want to do the same? Like all of that kind of stuff it's really interesting how it opens your eyes to that. And it changes the dynamic because I have a lot more appreciation, for mum, and also a lot more criticism, let's be real, of like what things I don't like. But now, every day on my birthday, it's only been like 2 birthdays since then for my mum. Like my birthday, I buy her a present. Because I'm like, why this whole time did you not tell me that my birthday wasn't about me? Like all these years I've gone through thinking it's my birthday. Absolutely not. Woman, this is about you. You did this. This was the hugest thing that you'd ever done. And I was your first baby. Like, yeah, no, I will never look at my birthday the same way again.
Interesting that you mentioned that, because I was born at 11:27 a.m., September 30th, 1979. And somewhere around that time, whether I'm on a coaching call or not, my mother calls me. And I usually can't pick up because that's primetime coaching. But what I do is when I finally connect with her that day, because she's several hours behind me because I'm in Texas and she's in California. So she's 2 hours behind. What I will do is when it's my noon block, from like noon to 2, I have a break. I'll call her. And for the last, 30 something years, I tell her thank you. And it's our birthday.
Such a good son. So anything to do with babies and no relationships, that changes. I can't, our fantasy books that we love to read. Like yes. I'm re-listening to at the moment the graphic audio of Michael Sullivan. Like I love that series. And I know you've read it and you love it too. But like I have to skip the bits where she kills Minna, or like, someone dies, or like Suri, this mystic, kills this wolf that's like her child. But like, cause the response in my body to stress of an infant or a relationship is so out of control that like I haven't been able to manage it yet. Like I go straight to tears. Like it's still not back to normal. Like on the emotional scale.
Question. The original question was, obviously we know how it changed you, we know how it changed your family. And then you just circle it all back around and you tied it in a neat little bow.
I mean,
did you do that on purpose? That was sexy.
Very wise. Yeah, I'm very wise.
Did you know that moms can be sexy?
Yeah, I'm trying to. I hope so.
Not to me.
I would. I hope so. I hope so because I'm trying to get there again. You don't feel it. You feel used. You feel dirty. You know what I felt like? I felt like I was a car that had never been driven off the lot because like my womb had never been used. And then it was all used. It was weird. It was like now all part of me is like secondhand.
You know, you actually did two things beautifully. You capstoned that question in such an articulate and human way. And you actually transitioned us into another topic, which is, well, let's talk about how that.
Well, I multitask. I'm not only a woman, but a mum. So
You're like, I'm not a one-trick pony.
That's it. I got it all.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that though, because, sexiness, you have to be for your career, and movement and exercise play a huge role in your day to day. But I mean, obviously you and I think if I were to really look at your programming that I've written for you for the last 9-10 months, it's really about recovery, mobility, and getting you ready to the next level.
Yeah. Well, I had a lot going on as well with my hormones being still elevated. Mine took a really long time to come down. I had postpartum depletion. I had to have an iron transfusion. So there was a lot of other stuff going on as well, which now finally is sorted. And now we can kick the training up, which is great.
And we have to, because but what's the last reel that I sent you? Who was it of?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. We do send a lot of stupid reels to each other.
Kate Beckinsale, Underworld.
Oh, yeah. That actually wasn't the last one. There was another one, but yeah. That was the one in reference to the conversation.
Was in reference.
Yes.
Yeah. This is the thing. So we know that fitness, nutrition, and daily habits really help with recovery, and exercise plays a huge role in healing. We know that. We all know that. That's nobody on this planet would disagree with that, except for some grifters. Anyway, what I was wanting to ask you was, now that you're getting a little bit more stabilized and we've kind of moved you out of the recovery routines, for ladies who struggle the way that you did, can you reinforce for them how a routine that's more supportive instead of overwhelming is helpful?
Okay. So the biggest thing that I would, in terms of like physical stuff, because there's a lot of things I would tell a woman that was going to go through this, but just in terms of the physical stuff, I would say do not underestimate hormones and the effect that they have on you. Like, you can't fight them. And I'm a fighter mentality. I feel like I can beat anything and like punish it down, but like you can't. You can't beat hormones. You can't work against them. You have to work with them. You can't go. I couldn't go straight into my old training program when my hormones were all over the place. Like it just was impossible. It wouldn't have happened. Like, and I, maybe tried it a couple times, and like it just kills you. Like you can't. So you have to work with your body where it's at physiologically in order to go anywhere. And then because I kept going to the gym, even if I didn't feel like I was, murdering myself enough to get results or whatever you tell yourself, like it still counts, because what you're doing is you're keeping that foundation in place. Because if you just cut everything and I don't even know how it would ever started again. Like I just don't know. Like it just had to be part of my life. It always was. Even when like I was getting no sleep, when she was right born, like a few, 3-hour blocks, 2-hour blocks, like I would still go, this is my gym day. And even if I had nothing, I would just go and I would pick up a 2-kilo freaking, weight and just be like, and I felt so much better for it. Not only because physically I was moving, but I was accountable to myself and committed to my goals long term. 2
comments on this. First of all, you and I had mini calls in 2025 where you had a screaming baby and we had to adapt and we worked through it. The second thing that I'd say is if you are working with a professional, hopefully they're competent as a lady, and as guys too, like as guys suffer postpartum differently than women, it's not the same. It's a different situation.
But they do have a drop in testosterone, interestingly enough.
Yeah, well, there's a physiological reason for that, but we don't need to get into that because
so that you don't go wandering around. You settle down, and I can own you.
Sowing oats, baby, just throwing them everywhere.
There's no oats left; they're gone. That's big claim.
There's a real reason for that. That's
absolutely
it's protection and provision. It's an evolutionary response.
Yep, yeah, exactly.
Well, but I was with all jokes aside, what I was going to say is that if you are a lady and you're suffering from postpartum problems and you're working with a professional, you need to tell them and be honest that it's too much. And that's what Sarah and I always were talking. She'd be like, hey, I feel like it's just like, I think I had you doing Bulgarian split squats. You said, fuck that. And we modified and adapted. So if you're a fitness professional and you're listening to this, pay attention to what the ladies say when they're postpartum. If you're a woman and you are working with a professional, be honest with your professional. And if they don't listen, fire them. Also, because what happens to you if you have a program that you are not hitting, you are so vulnerable emotionally. It's just one more thing to beat yourself up on. Absolutely. It's really important that if you have a program that you hit it. It just that personal accountability that you have, it helps your self-esteem. Yeah, it does. But what it does, it protects you. It protects you from your overeager ambition through social media expectations or familiar expectations, personal expectations. You have to be regulated and look at yourself and say objectively, where am I right now? How is my body feeling? Should I reevaluate my time frame? My goal isn't necessarily wrong. Time frame for your goal has to be evaluated and judged accordingly.
Yeah, and that can be really hard.
So hard because you want it now.
Also, yes, I'm impatient, as fully acknowledged. But also, I think what made me more impatient is that I was so desperate to get back to me. Like, I missed me. There's like a mourning period that you go through when you have a baby of the change, even if you don't regret it, which I did not. But it was just like, I just would be crying sometimes, just saying to my husband, like, I miss me. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, you're still you. Like, you've got all this. I'm like, I don't think you'll ever quite get it. I'd still struggle to articulate it. But being fit and lean was just like, it's something I latched onto because it was just such a part of who I was for so many years. So like just wanting to get back to it fast so that I could find me again, I had to like just be at peace with the transformation internally.
I understand this, even though I've never birthed a child, but I've seen so many women go through this. And I will tell you, postpartum depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, they are standard. They're normal.
The intrusive thoughts are wild. Do you want to know what one was? I was cooking dinner and I was chopping carrots and I ate a carrot. And then I went, oh my God, if I choke on this carrot and die on the floor right now, my baby will be stuck in the high chair for hours until my husband gets home from work and she won't have water. She'll pee and poo in her nappy. She'll have this. What the fuck? Then I also cried hysterically because what if we were in the desert, like in June, we were in the desert and my milk dried up and I had nothing to give her. I couldn't get the thought out of my head and I was so sad. My husband's like, babe, we literally just went through a flood. We're in a rain zone. Like, we're good.
I just want to bring it back to something. I just want to reemphasize that postpartum depression, anxiety, intrusive thoughts, all of these things, they're real, but they're biologically instilled so that you don't, well, first of all, hopefully you don't abandon and kill your baby, right? Because it's the propagation of the species.
Yeah,
I think it's cute the way that you handled it. And you're just thinking, oh, shit, if I choke on this carrot and I die, I don't know.
I just have a mantra because they happen sometimes. If I've watched, I can't watch anything too scary. Even my fantasy books I love, like I'm re-listening to old ones so I know when to skip ahead because if it's too upsetting, it gets in my brain and like if I remember something from my book that was upsetting or, if you told me about this stupid bear, I'm so mad at you. Like, don't ever tell me about the bear that ate that woman. Like, I don't talk about it again because it took me ages to get out of my head. I was lying awake in bed that night. And
Sarah,
I don't want, you will not tell me again. You can put a little note at the end of this video so that people can watch what it is, but I will not have that in my brain again. I literally had to lie awake in bed at night and go, everything's okay. Everything's okay. My baby is safe. There is no bear. And my husband's like, what are you muttering? It's like, don't worry about it.
Okay, moving on. So now, okay.
Intrusive thoughts really spike anxiety. They really spike cortisol. And I'm using humor to mask it, but it is fucked up. And, It really, like I'm joking with you. It's playful and it's funny, but also I'm deadly serious that you won't tell that story again because like my heart starts racing. Like I just can't. It's a lot to kind of manage that anxiety. And if you don't have those coping skills built in, I can really see how women get overwhelmed. I'm lucky that I've cultivated myself in that way. Like, that I've done a lot of that work on myself before the baby because I was able to apply all of those skills. If you're someone that's just been cruisy and you didn't have all this like fucked up anxiety and depression in your past and you have no method to deal with it, I can totally see how people go under.
The only thing I was trying to expose is your new maternal instinct that is valuable.
Yes, it's fucked up. It makes you a crazy person. And if you can't breathe it into place or realize or separate the awareness of like what is a disproportionate reaction, then like you are lost. You are swimming in an emotional soup that you can't come up for air. Like, if I wasn't aware enough to be like, this reaction doesn't match like what's just happened, and to be able to logically separate that. And that's just from years of me being a self-development, obsessed person.
Yeah. If you could speak directly to a mom who feels fearful, overwhelmed, exhausted, and frustrated with her body, her life, anything right now in postpartum. And let's say that means like you had a baby yesterday and maybe you have a baby who's 3 years old. What would you want her to know that's constructive so that she can listen to this and say, I want to be like Sarah. I'm going to rise above. What would you say to her?
As soon as you say something that's like implies I'm doing a good job, it's like so funny, the reaction in me, because again, we're so hard on ourselves as mothers. Look, I think what's really important for anyone to understand, like what helps anyone in any situation is connection. We are beings that are, programmed for community. And with the way, we were talking about this earlier off the podcast, with the way that a lot of societies in Western cultures particularly are formed now, is that we don't have a big community. And I think that makes it so much harder. Raising children has become an isolated family unit type situation with maybe grandma and grandpa helping out, popping in from time to time, but it's not the same kind of communal experience that it once was. And I think that mothers suffer for it a lot. So, I think I would, want people to know every single mother, no matter what it looks like from the outside, is going through in some capacity what you are going through. Every single one of us. Like, it looks slightly different. It might be dressed up in a different outfit, but the through line is the same, and there is a lot, like we talked about on this podcast earlier, a lot of guilt around admitting just how much you're struggling or talking about not loving the experience, because in some way that means you don't love your baby or you regret it, which is not the case. It's okay. It is okay to not be happy and to not be enjoying your life right now and still love your baby and still be glad you had it. Like, the two are not mutually exclusive concepts. I think that is really important, because for sure I've had those moments where, I feel like a shit friend right now. That for me is the hardest. A lot of people's marriages suffer. I can't speak on that experience. I'm, for whatever reason, thank God, like, my marriage has actually been really strong through this, but my friendships definitely suffer. And I really love my friends. And I know, like, they're so understanding when I do finally message them back or whatever, but it's so hard because, you want to be able to be there. My friend's birthday, I've made a really great friend here since I've moved back to Australia, a new one. So we've been friends for almost 2 years. I've never been to her house once. We live in the same town. She always comes to my place. And I just think that is so fucking sweet. And you don't know how much that means to me. And I really want to come to your house, but just trying to do little things like that sometimes are just, they seem impossible. So, that is really hard. That sense of spontaneity, that if you are new into this, the default parent mode, I call it, is one of the most exhausting parts. Because yes, the father becomes a father and he, is a really amazing hands-on dad if you're lucky and all of those things. But just being able to walk out the door to mow the lawn, you don't know what a gift that is. I have to ask permission to go have a shower. Like, hey, are you good to wash the baby for 2 seconds? Like, that's really hard. Just not being able to shower because you have to make sure the baby's looked after. All your groceries. What is the baby eating every day? What are they wearing every day? Do we have enough nappies? Do we have like this? Like, all of that mental load of, packing the nappy bag, all of that stuff just automatically falls on you as the mother. And maybe also we want it that way because we're control freaks and we don't trust anybody else. But the fact that you are just a default and there is no spontaneity, asking permission for a shower, that's a hard pill to swallow. That's hard. That's tough. So yeah, that would be, I would say, be prepared for that and know that we all go through it and that it does start to lift. Like, it does start to lift. It hasn't lifted all the way for me, but as she has moved into like toddlerness, like, and is more of a being, like an independent being, like, I start to see, okay, I'm seeing some light. It definitely, there is huge advances, but there is a loss of that community. It's not the same. Modern society move towards independent family groups. But here's the thing you have to understand. You don't have a choice when you become a mum. I didn't have the luxury of like that I used to have when shit happened of just like having a complete mental breakdown. Because number one, the instinct to protect my child from suffering is like so ridiculously strong that even protecting her from my suffering is important. Like, so I can't suffer too much because then she suffers. So it's a real balance of like, and that's why I've freaking got a fucking therapist and I recommend everyone doing it who's going through this, because you have to be able to channel and process your stuff and not just repress it. So it's this real balance because you got to just keep going. And I'm grateful that happened while I was a new mum, because I don't know, it made me stronger to deal with it. Like, I don't know if it would have been as, dealt with it the same way because I just had to.
Do you remember the movie Apocalypto?
Yes.
You remind me of her when she was stuck in that well and the water was coming in.
Oh my God, stop. Intrusive thoughts. I know, I'm making a joke, but I know what you mean. Thank you. That is, yes, that's what you do. That's what you do. Like, even, here's the thing as well. Like, you might not think you have that capacity, but you just do. Like, you just do. It's bizarre. It is a bizarre thing, but you don't know what you're capable of. But the truth is, Michael, in that well, I would do that for my Pomeranian. They're my forever babies.
I remember when they were little puppies and now they're hella old because like we're getting hella old.
No, I hate how that happens.
No.
But yes.
Anyway, I
yes.
really appreciate you exposing a little bit of that and being vulnerable. But so now let me just ask you, like, one question, and we'll transition to a close here. I was just kind of thinking about everything that you were saying, and you've had to instill a significant amount of habits, stuff that you already knew about, but also things that you and I've talked about over the years.
Yeah.
You've had to create boundaries. I know I know you're careful with how you create boundaries in your family circle, but you have. I know that you have had to create mindset shifts that help you feel more like yourself again. And you have to discover new ways of creating that new version of yourself. So I was mentioning habit, boundaries, mindset, and all that stuff. When you quantify you now compared to her, what does that look like in your head? And what are you the most proud of with your personal development?
That I believe that I can achieve my goals. I think that was really missing. When you are looking for quick fixes, like there is something about, where you're currently at that you really don't deeply believe you're capable of doing it without a miracle pill.
Ozempic or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. And I still have those thoughts coming up, especially through this process. And someone literally offered to sell me their Ozempic, and I can't deny I was tempted. I was like, no, I don't need it. I don't. And I think knowing that you are capable that's all you need, because we all start somewhere other than where we want to be. But if you truly believe you can walk the path to get to where you want to go, then there's nothing that can stop you from achieving that. I think you've just got to have faith in yourself. So lame, but it's true.
I will remind you that what you just said is the good parts were true, the bad parts were false.
What bad parts?
You're better than that you think you are.
What do you mean?
You're a better mother than you say. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm complimenting you. You're really good.
Yeah.
I understand. Okay, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, look, I guess it's because I don't, know, I guess no one should feel like a role model or inspiration, especially when you go through it, because every day is a roll of the dice when you got a kid, right? You don't know what's going to happen. Are you going to have a good sleep? Are you going to have a bad sleep? That can set the tone for the whole day. It's hard to make plans. If they get sick, everything changes. So you never feel like, oh, I've got it. Like, I'm done. This is it. Like, I'm killing it, everybody. And this is what you do. And if anyone tries to tell you that, it's bullshit. Like all of these, and they do fuck with my head, the social media stuff that I know you love to shit on. Here's one. When you see these beautiful nurseries and everything is folded and in a drawer and organized, and these gorgeous mums in yoga pants and tank tops with their newborn baby, come in and lay it down. You're like, whoa. And you're there, in dirty sweats, haven't washed your hair in a week. Your room is chaos going, I am failing. How did she do that? Here, she didn't do that. It's not real. It's not real. It's not real life. It's not real life. And I do fall in the trap of comparing myself to that stuff at times, and I've got to snap out of it. You can't compare yourself to anybody but you in any area of your life. And, that is so much happiness in that. We all fall out of that all the time. I definitely do. And you've just got to keep bringing it back, just be with you, be the best you can be in this moment, in this day, in motherhood. And don't think too long term that, you got to get through each day. And that's how I approach my workouts now too. Wednesday's workout day. That's it. Just today. I don't think about the next week or whatever, just in the moment.
Yeah. You basically just proved my point.
You're welcome.
What I was saying was that it's a joy, it's a blessing, and you've done a really good job with it, despite the fact that you think that you haven't. Phenomenal husband, phenomenal family, and you've done a lovely job. I'm so proud of you. I can't express how amazing it is to see you have grown and the hardships that you've endured and the moves and the career setbacks and the frustrations but you don't give up. And that, my dear, that is what I'm expecting from you in 2026.
I do not give up.
No, fuck no, you don't.
It's not in my DNA.
Now, and also, you know me, I'm not gonna sit by and let my friend and wallow in any kind of self-pity, which you haven't. You've been fine. Everything's good. But here's the thing. I'm telling everybody who's listening or watching right now that she is going to look so goddamn good in this upcoming movie. Tell everybody about the upcoming movie, would you?
Okay, well, the movie is The Ocean's Curse, and it's a movie that I'm producing with my production partner, Johan Earl. He's directing it, and we're both acting in it. We worked together years ago on Forbidden Ground, which is the film that brought me to America. It got bought by Lionsgate and got released, and that's what brought me over and got that side of things. So we're back teamed up again to do another film. And this film, it's epic. This film is a testament, I guess, to my mentality of you don't have to settle. You can, break your own glass ceiling and create something really epic. So what I'm saying in a flowery way is that we're basically taking on a studio level film at an independent level. There's sharks, there's underwater spectral pirate ghosts, there's, a Portuguese galleon, there's possessions, there's these demonic storms. It's wild, and we always just go, what are we doing? But, dream big, go hard, make it happen.
Is there some links that we can put in so people can go and donate?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can. We have it. We've released a teaser, so you can see that we did doing motion capture. It's kind of like Pirates of the Caribbean meets Miami Vice.
Hey, drugs and pirates.
Yes, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. So so we released a teaser that people can see. We also, we're documenting the BTS journey so people can see how we're actually doing all of this insane stuff. So yeah, we can do some links for sure.
Yeah. So send those over to me, and then I'll make sure that anybody who's listening or watching, all those links will be in the bio. If you want to contribute to Sarah and her studio so she can get this really, really nailed down. I've seen some of the imagery. Oh, there's the little pommy. Oh, which one is this?
That's Bunyip.
Okay.
A bunyip is like a chupacabra in Australia. It's like dairy animal that
Yeah.
comes out of the billabong and gets you. She wants to go out. There you go. Go, baby.
Hi, bitch. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for sharing something so personal with people. I know that there's so much in there that people are going to enjoy. And also, now that things are calming down, I'm not joking. This is for real. I've had probably maybe a handful, 6, 7, 8 clients say, so I noticed that Australian gal hasn't been in any of your podcasts recently. Sure would be nice if maybe she would come back around. So like you've got requests to show up more.
I'm always forgive the people what they want. I'm here. Let's do it.
All right, my dear. Well, you're the one who said it.
I'm excited. Okay. Yay. I will
See you soon.
keep going. And my doctor did comment when I went in. She was like, oh, you're looking lean. And I was like, thank you. Noticing. Okay, that was awesome. Loved it. I will go to the gym.
All right.
Tomorrow.
Keep me in the loop.
Okay.
Darling, it's good to see you. You look fantastic.
Same. You too.
All right, sorry.
Bye.